Hello guys, this is Fredrik Eklind and today I'm going to show how to make some simple material water effects and how to make a boat move in the distance with the use of splines. So let's start and reset this scene like so and delete this one. So to make this work we would first need some kind of static mesh, and I'm so happy to have one right here. It's just a simple boat which I made in Blender. You can use whatever you like, we just need something for this example to work. So at first we would need to make a blueprint out of this, so I will right click my static mesh and asset action create blueprint using this. And I will make a new folder here and call it simple boat project like so. And I will make my blueprint boat BP like so. And you will open up your blueprint and we will go to the event graph and delete these two. So at first we are going to make something to make this boat move, and to do that we would use a timeline. So just right click here and search for this, add a timeline like so. We will call this boat timeline. And then we will compile, and we want to left click this, double click, and here we will add a track and add a float track. And here we're going to make some values to make this work. First I will add one key here which will have value 0 and times 0. And I will make another one, and this one will have the value 1 and time 1 like so. I will compile and return to my event graph. So at first I will drag my timeline here, and I will drag from this one and search for set play rate. I will connect this to play from start, and here I will use a divide and make a variable out of this and call it duration. I will name this duration and compile. I'm going to use a custom event for this. You can use event timeline, the event begin playing if you like, but I'm going to do it like this. Move boat now. Like so. And to get this timeline to work, we need to set the location and rotation for a boat. So at first we would need to make a variable out of this one, and this is the new track which we made here before, if you remember. We will connect this to update, and this new track we will call this alpha. And then we will put our static mesh for our boat, and here we will search for set relative location and rotation. And connect it here like so. And here it's important that your static mesh is aligned the right way, because otherwise you can get some messy results. So if we go down here and double click on our mesh here, you can see here these symbols here, you can see the X is pointing forward in the boat direction. And if this X is not the same as the one I have here, it will be backwards. And you want to avoid this, because then you have to use some offset for the rotation, and that's just a waste of time. So we want to avoid that. And now you can see that the X is the right way here. So now we will create our spline, and to do that we will go to the components and add and search for spline. And here we will add this spline component, like so, and I will drag this up here. We will drag out our spline, which we can see here in our component list. Get spline. And our spline we will drag out and search for get location at distance along spline, because we want to know this that we measure our boat, how should it move along the spline. So this is what we're doing here. The return value into the new location. And we will also need one for our rotation as well. And we can drag from this one again, get rotation at distance along spline for the rotation as well. And we also would need the spline length, so we'll drag again and search for spline length, like so. And this spline length we will connect to a lerp. We will connect it to the the B, like so. And if you remember before, we made a variable here called alpha, and now we're going to use this alpha and get the values here. And we'll connect the lerp to each of the location and rotation. So this one will go to the distance, and this one as well. So we will need to make a few adjustments before this will work. If we go to a viewport here, you can see here the spline, which is positioned under the boat here. And this is the spline which we can drag out like a road system or tunnels, which you can use spline for many different kind of purposes. But at this time we're going to use it to make the boat move along the water. So we'll go to our simple boat project folder, and we will drag out the boat here, like so. I think we will keep it like this. And here you can see, here is the spline. It can be some kind hard to see them. And here we have the spline, and now we can drag this out like so. I'm just making a straight line right now, but you can also, if you hold down the Alt key and press on this spline, it will make another one, you see, like this. And this can come very handy. Let's say you want the boat to make a quick right turn like this, or maybe you want it to appear like it's on the waves. You can make this up and down like a curve pattern or something like this. But I'm just going to use one spline here, and I will reset like this. I will drag this out, let's say like so. And now we just need to get back to our boat distance blueprint, which I have here. And now I'm using a custom event, so then we will need to start this custom event, and we will start it from event begin play and search for move boat now, like so. So now let's press play and see what happens. And there is nothing happening. And why is that? And the reason it didn't work is because I forgot to put a value into the divide here, because if you divide something with 0, it will turn out to be 0, and which means there is no duration here. So in our boat BP blueprint, we will change this divide value to 1, and then everything should work. We press play, and the boat is moving along the splines, which we made. Perfect. But this boat, I think it needs some water, because if you don't want the boat to move along a street or something, maybe you are dragging it or something, but we are not going to make that type of tutorial. So now that we have our boat ready, we are going to make the material for the water. And to do that, we will create a material here in our Simple Boat project folder. I will right click, go to materials and create material. I will call this water material, and I will get into this water material like so. So to make this work, we first need to have a world position. I will right click and search for world position like so. And we want to convert this into a 2D plane, because that's what we're going to use. So I will drag out here and search for mask, component mask, exactly, because we are only using the R and G. And now we're going to make 2 different movements here to make the material move in different ways. So let's start with the first one. I will drag out here and search for multiply. And here I will create a parameter. I will hold down S and press left. And I will name this scale 1. Put it into B. And to make this material move, we are going to use a panner, which will create this movement effect, which we are after. And here we will need a vector parameter, which will determine our speed. So I will search for that. Vector parameter, and call this speed 1. And this I will also put into a mask. So I will copy this one and put it from the speed one here, like so, into speed. And here we will need to use a texture sample. And here we are going to use a texture which is included into Unreal 5. And it's called water. So you will search for that. It's called water underline N. This is the one we are going to use. And this one we will, let's see, we will need to have another one here. So I will copy this one and put it down here, like so. So we have the first one connected. Now we're going to connect our second one. We don't need to copy the mask because we already have one. So, and I will rename this one to scale 2 so we don't mix them up. And this one to speed 2. So now we have 2 panners here, which we're going to blend into a lerp. So we'll drag out and search for lerp. Interpolate is the one we're going to use. Linear interpolate. So the first one is connecting into A, and the second one is connected into B. And you will see the value here is 0.5, and that means that 50% will come from this one, and the rest 50% will come from this one, which is the way we want it to be. And then we're going to need a constant tree vector. And here we will determine the color, and the color of water is blue, so we will use the B1 and put it to a value of 1. And this will also be connected into a linear interpolate, like so. And we'll connect this one into A, and this lerp into B. And here we will determine the scale height. So here I will make another parameter. I will hold down S again and press left click. And call this scale height. And connect it into the alpha. And obviously this one will be connected into the normal because we are using normal maps here. And we also need a base color. And for that we will need a vector parameter and call it color. And connect this one into base color. And make the alpha into 1. If everything is the way it should be, it should look something like this. And let's try this now. But first we need to also make some adjustments. So we will put this down here. And here we will create a material instance out of our material, which we just created. We will create the material instance. And now we can drag this out into the plane, which I created. If you haven't created a plane, you can do that now. It's just a simple plane, which I'm putting down here alongside the terrain. So we'll get into our material instance. And here we have some values which we need to change, because there's nothing, it's just 0, 0, 0 now. First, change the value of scale 1 to something like 0.001. Let's try that. And scale 2, let's put that to 0.25. And the scale height, I'll put it to 0.1. And the color we're going to use is 1 for alpha. And the speed 1, we will put to something like 0.0, and this you can experiment with to see what you make. Maybe you want the water to be very wavy and fast, you will increase these values. I'm using this value here. And for speed 2, let's try something like 0.1 for all of them. And now we can see how this looks in the game. And right now you can see it doesn't look much like water yet. And why is that? So the issue here is that we need to change the value of roughness in our material. Because now the roughness is set to value 1, and we don't want to use roughness here. So we will right click this one and promote it to a parameter. It can be called roughness. And here the value is supposed to be 0, because we don't want to use it. So let's see now what happens with our material. And now the water looks much better. So now we have our water material ready. And before we press play and test this, I will make a material for the boat's sail as well. So let's make a new material and call it sail material. Get into that. Just some simple base color. We will use vector free, constant free vector parameter. We can use that one. And we need something white. Like this. I will save. Create a material instance and let's add this to the static mesh. Like so. We press play. And the boat moves and the water is looking good. So that's it for today. If you want to see more content, please subscribe to my channel. I will update with more things. Next up, I think I will make something about puzzle design, because that's something I've worked on a lot on my own game. So have a good day and see you later, guys. Bye bye.